What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we've reached the end of our Venus through Houses series. And today, we'll be discussing Venus in the 12th house. And we know the 12th house is the most misunderstood house in the zodiac, as it should be, because it's the house of the unconscious. It's the house of spirituality. All things not of this world. If you've been following me, you know that houses 4, 8, and 12 are all the psychic houses. And they represent different aspects of the person's psyche. So as you go through, you get deeper into the person's psyche. And when you reach the 12th house, you have reached the deepest part of that person, where they are closest to God. Alright? And Venus is the planet of love, beauty, pleasure, relationships. Okay? And it's a benefit planet. And if I didn't say it, let me just read it. The 12th house above all, like I said, with it being the deepest part of our psyche, is the house of secrets. This is where no one can see. It essentially represents, like I said, you and your higher self, you and God, you and the universe. And you have to understand planets in the 12th house, you have to understand the nature of the 12th house. And just to keep it short and direct, planets come to the 12th house to become liberated. Or you could say, in some essence, die. Because we know in spirituality terms, when something dies, it gives way to rebirth. Okay? So, the 12th house is also the house of karmic agreements. Okay? Your personal karma, as well as the karma of the bloodline you've been born into. So I want to start there. The person with Venus in the 12th, because there's a lot of different ways to view this. As you've seen, we've gone through the whole zodiac. So, to some essence, when you have your Venus placed in the 12th house, it is somewhat of a karmic reward. Why? Because essentially you have mastered the expressions of Venus in all the houses before. And now it is time for you to take that overview that you have and give it back to the world. So the person with Venus in the 12th is born with the instinct or the ability to give divine love. And they're very much so ready for that. They feel it within themselves. The problem occurs within receiving this divine love. And the 12th house naturally trines the 4th. And that represents our roots, our upbringing. So a lot of things in the 12th house, the reason, a lot of it's, a lot of the way it's played out has to do with what happened in childhood. Now, understand, it really won't be the same for everybody, but there's an overall theme. And with Venus in the 12th, the person is placed into an environment where they didn't necessarily receive this divine love that they seek. And as a result, what does this person do? They turn within. They learn how to love themselves. And then the person could also be placed in a position where they feel like they aren't supposed to express their love for all things Venus. Okay? So, like I said, your upbringing and conditioning is going to give you a lot of insight as to why you feel the way you do, or the way you operate with your Venus. But overall, with this being the house of secrets, the person is not openly, they don't show this essence to the world. They believe that, I have to love in secret. And from loving themselves in secret, this trickles over into their ideas. When they get into a relationship, Venus in the 12th, honestly, doesn't want anything except your time. Your time, your affection, and a connection. Honestly, the person is seeking within love an eternal soul connection. But this is also a house of extremes. So the process in finding that leads them to have a whole lot of ideas about love, okay? So as this person is loving themselves, right? And the funny thing here with the Venus in the 12th is, all right, so it's the house of secrets, and this is where the aspects come in. Say you're receiving a square to Pluto, right? A square to Pluto, a square to Mars. This can really indicate, or not even just a square, maybe like, a conjunction, whatever. This can indicate some type of trauma in childhood, okay? You could have been molested. You could have just seen something or someone around you, this could have happened to, or you could have, seen domestic violence, or something you see in childhood makes you say, this isn't good, or I need to take my time within love. So you have a person, although this person is anxious to give their love away, they over time develop this this real, what do I want to say? They develop this confidence for their love, like, you know what? I'm not just going to give it to anybody. I'm going to wait. So a lot of times, male and females, right? You can, the person with Venus in the 12th, when they lose, like say their virginity, or they get into their first serious relationship, this can be later in life. And part of that can be based on what they saw occur in childhood, okay? And how they formed their perception of relationships. On the next end, because it's the house, the 12th house nature, the person, this is not Venus in the first. Venus in the first, from whatever time they can remember, keeps getting told, you're beautiful, you are handsome. This doesn't happen for Venus in the 12th. Venus in the 12th feels this way about themselves, but it isn't often validated by others. So there's also, that can also create, it also creates this thing where the person truly doesn't realize how beautiful they are. But the funny thing is, because of that inner love that the person has for themselves, which is very important, right, to anyone, people actually see that. But because of the nature of the house, they are not told that. So, my first piece of advice, you have to be your own cheerleader. You have to know and own your beauty. And as you get older, through your talents, through your service to the world, you will realize how beautiful you are. And the thing is, this is the key thing, guys. Initially, how you want to be perceived, you will not be perceived for. Your Venus, you will start to be perceived for this Venus by being selfless, a humanitarian, expressing your artistic gifts, which there are many of, okay? So right now I'm going to stick with the relationship aspect of Venus of the 12th, because so many people, struggle with this, and I just want to shed the light on it. So in terms of, relationships. What'll happen to this person, like I said, they'll be picky, right? They'll be picky. They'll be confident, like, I know I'm got some good love to give, and I don't just like anybody. So the time, this is also with it being the original house of Pisces and Neptune, idealism. This person has crafted out their perfect partner. And for those of you, I've done this video before, and for those of you who haven't seen it, I tell you, go and watch the movie Ruby Sparks, okay? Ruby Sparks gives a valuable insight into Venus in the 12th, and the reason you don't want what you want, that you should love to love what you get, all right? You can't create somebody. It isn't going to be fully satisfying in the end. So check out Ruby Sparks if you haven't. This person starts creating this list and this idealism, right? And then the next part, and how this plays into the next part of Venus in the 12th, is, check this out. Everyone, Venus, because it is the house of karma and it is the ending of this cycle of relationships, the person is meeting every single person that you meet, regardless of how the relationship goes, is one of your soulmates. And if you follow my soulmate series, you know I tell you, we have more than one. There are multiple people in our lives who are our soulmates. And for Venus in the 12th, this is very much so highlighted. So there are parts of yourself, right, all around you. And these personal relationships that you enter, romantic and platonically, say there's other influence in your chart, there'll be someone who represents that next aspect for you to teach you something, right? They're all around you. So what's occurring here is that Venus wants everything in one package. But the lesson is opposite house Pisces, opposite house from the 12th is the 6th, original of Virgo. Nobody's perfect. So what's actually occurring is each one of the things that you want in the person is going into individuals. So in each relationship, it's like, damn, they have 1, 2, and 3, but not 4 and 5. And it is actually up to the Venus in the 12th person to humble themselves. This is how the planet liberates. You come down off this high horse and you're able to have compassion for your partner and their own shortcomings. So this idea that I'm talking about of the person, the people that you attract being different parts of not just yourself, but, representing your karma as a whole, it enables you to, each relationship, even the hurtful ones, are enabling you to grow. So another major theme with Venus in the 12th house being that it is the nature of secrets. So we take the planet of love and put it in the 12th, that equates to secret love. And a lot of times this gets distorted into love affairs. Venus is waiting for that ideal, and then they get the ideal, but they're not perceiving the ideal correctly. And so in one sense, because everybody ain't innocent here, in one sense, you will be led on and may not know that this person is in a relationship or married. But in the next sense, depending on how you meet this person, you can very much so give in to the affair and go along with it. But, like I said, all of these experiences enable you to grow. The 12th house is also, like I said, it's a house of extremes. So on one side, you have the amazing power of love at its highest vibration. And then you have, things like lust. All right. So it's always one extreme. And then I could actually say hate too, because that's a major theme within, your relationships. You love and hate that person. But when you're vibing high, like I said, you're able to have compassion and meet them where they are. So with Venus, a lot of times, like I said, they fall into these secret love affairs, and it enables them to grow. The next part with the 12th house being related to escapism is you can have someone who you're a healer, and I'm going to touch on this aspect too. Venus in the 12th is a healer. It is a very, like I said, it's a psychic house. This love is divine love. So you are going to attract people who need to be healed in some type of way. Even if the person seems like they have it all together on the outside, through your relationship, you will discover their secrets and, see how you can help them heal. So it's very, it happens a lot when the Venus in the 12th attracts someone with escapism problem. They could be an alcoholic, a drug addict. They could just be very irresponsible. So it's a very conflicting thing here. And just to give some insight into signs, right? So if your 12th house is ruled by water, there is going to be a very, very strong psychic link between you and your lovers. And all Venus in the 12s need to protect themselves because, you're very much so taking on that person's energy, and you feel the energy exchange at a deeper rate than anyone else, right? So if it's in water, it's going to be a very strong psychic link. Depending on the aspects and depending on, other things, this can create someone who gets stalked. Just like in house 8, all right? Because there is a magneticism that turns into obsession, all right? People may not be able to let go. Because a lot of times, like I said, you're a healer. So a lot of times in this karmic agreements, it's like you take the job, you make it do what it do, and then you'll realize, all right, this isn't working for me anymore, and you'll want to move on, but they may not. All right, so more so than any other elements, I've seen the stalking really come into play within water a lot. If it is fire, this is where we get a lot of affairs. This is because, fire is passion, it's impulse, and and it's also movement. So the 12th house also relates to like foreign lands. So a lot of these affairs can occur away from the person's home and things like that. So it's a long distance affair and things like that. If it's earth, this is where you get to that point where you're helping this person grow, or the person can be helping you grow. So Venus in the 12th can be naive in the sense of, here, let me take care of you. You don't have it, I got you. All right? And this can lead to being taken advantage in material ways. All right? Let's say there's a 4th house influence and a 12th house influence. You could end up having your partner living off of you. You get what I'm saying? So you want to be wary of that naive aspect within itself. And then air. Air is like, this is where it's like, damn, we got everything, right? And say, this is the funny thing. Within air, there's a detached nature, okay? So Venus doesn't necessarily show what it wants. So if someone has Libra here in the 12th, they really, really do dream of this divine partnership. But what can happen is they can attract a partner who is very detached from relationships, but wants to keep up an affair. So a lot of times with that is that you'll have that mental connection. Everything will be there, but the relationship isn't grounded. And this can just occur for a number of reasons. But like I said, we're always constantly growing, and we need to experience these relationships in order to grow. So one thing that's big, I'm big on this for a lot of people in the zodiac, but more so Venus in the 12th than any other. Do not get married until